As you're working on the exercise and coming up with your questions before Friday, I wanted to point out something and talk about it because I noticed a lot of people struggling with it. And that is the method for assigning something to a column within a data frame, and the difference between that and assigning something that you calculate in R to just an object. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm going to run my first box to load all my packages, run the data input from the Google Doc, and then right in this section in 1.3, I'm just going to do this box and I'm going to show you what I mean. So we have a column within midline data called think. And the way that we tell R that we're interested in a column within a data frame is using the $sign symbol. So think is a column, $sign, within midline data. And anytime that we make a new column or change a column, we need to save it back into that column, or it will only be an object floating around in R. It won't be part of our data frame. So let's work through this. We want to look at the structure of the data frame using the str function just to see where we're at. And notice that I'm not typing much. I'm gonna copy most things. It's okay to liberally use copy and paste. It makes things way faster. Okay, so I want to see the structure of midline data. Structure is something that you apply to a data frame, not a column. So I'm not going to use the $sign symbol here. I'm going to run that just to show what we get. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, each with a $sign indicating they're a column. 2 are characters, the participant and the think, and the rest are numeric. So we want to turn this think into a factor. And this is important because sometimes our functions won't work without it being a factor. It tells R that there are only a certain number of ways that data can be entered. Data can be either above, below, or at the midline, but it can't be to the side of, right? There's only a certain number of levels in a factor, and it organizes things for R in ways that are important. So we're going to learn how to do that. We want to factor the column think, right? So we have to reach into the data frame, say, I want a column in that data frame, and we want it to be think, and we're going to factor it. Now, if we run that, we get this long string, right? And it says levels, and there are 3 levels, above, at, and below. So we've factored it, but we haven't saved it back into the data, and that's important. Anytime we're working with a data frame, that's usually what we want to do. So I'm going to use my option minus and assign this result, this factor result. Now a lot of you assigned that result back to think, and that's not bad. That's the right instinct. You want to save it into an object called think, right? But this think is not in the data frame midline data. It's just an object that R is going to save called think. And it's just going to be this. But we want it to be inside of our data frame. To do that, we have to tell R to do it. So we're going to say, reading from the inside out, midline, we want to reach into midline data and get the column think, factor that, and then assign it to the column I think inside I midline data. So we're saving it back to where we found it, but we're saving it as a factor. Now, if that works, we should see that the column has changed. So we're going to run the structure function again and see what happens, and we're going to compare the two. So I'm going to hit command return and see what happens. Okay, now we have the first structure call. Whoop. Right here, and we can see that I think is a character, right? That's before we do our factoring. Then we do it again, and now, now I think is a factor with 3 levels, above, at, and below. So we've done it exactly the way we need to. Now we can tally that, right? And tally is pretty easy. We want to tally, I think, and see what happens. We can run that whole block, and it'll give us the tally down here. So remember that when we're working with data frames, we always want to be assigning our data back into the data frame as a column, whether it's changing it and putting it back where we found it, or changing it by doing something like dividing it and saving it into a new column. If we wanted to save this into a new column, we could do that too. We could call it I think 2, right? And if we did that, we'd end up with 2 columns, I think and I think 2. Let's try it. There we go. Now we've got I think, and it's a factor, we factored it, and I think 2, and it is also a factor, right? We saved it, and if R doesn't see that column in the data frame, it will make that column for us. So I hope that's helpful, and good luck working through this before Friday and building some questions that you can ask when you get to class on Friday.